the LRS. Well, let me just back up. Welcome back to another Education Roundtable. Hopefully you've missed us. Welcome back. Okay, cool. JP gave us a really cool topic, making the LRS fun. And I'm excited to talk about this because I guess I want to start off by saying I think that most people wouldn't like the LRS. So I don't think that people would like it, but we want to make it fun because they have to do it. So before we jump into it, JP, what is an LRS?
It's their learning resource system. It's basically their research project for the term.
Mm-hmm. Anybody in here like research projects? I know, I didn't realize that you were going to raise your hand. I feel like that's a rare thing. So if we were to ask anybody if they would
well, in massage, it's not a rare thing because we're always researching something.
Would you say your students would raise your hand to liking research?
Yes.
Yes,
they do.
I'm gonna we'll be back. Hold on.
It depends on what class it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have the science classes and they're kind of, sort of, they like it. But like for Swedish, they get to choose whatever modality they want. So it's really exciting for them because they can go, oh, well, we're not going to learn about what we do, aromatherapy or craniosacral therapy or working on animals. So there's just all these different things that they can choose. And then for one of the last ones, like with deep tissue, they have one person and so they learn change work. And so they document that. So they do enjoy it. Some of them get really nervous about having to get up and present in front of the class or even talk in front of the class. No matter how well they know these people, they still freak out. But
and I think that's kind of where I was going. It's because no matter how much we know someone, that's a little bit of researching, a lot of bit of writing papers, right, and done presentations.
Yeah.
So that's why when you said you wanted to talk about this, I was like, oh, this is good. So I'd like to kind of just hear your thoughts about how we could make it more exciting.
Well, back in the day, they were given a topic, they had to write on it, and it was boring. It was horrible. I hated listening to them. I'm like, I can't do this. So every term we do it different. So in our science class, we have them make an edible cell. So we have it on potluck day. So they make their cell and then they can share it. Like this term, it's on ergonomics. Well, ergonomics is how you sit in the chair, your movement. So they all have to go through and do a presentation on stretching or posture or breathing, something that it's interesting because we have to be doing it daily in our field. One term, I give them all a health history and they have to put it into a story as if that student or that patient is having a medical emergency. How would you handle it? So it's all different because then they all take their own personalities and put into that presentation. It's not the whole boring, here's your topic, here, read it, and everybody has the same one. There's no personality to that.
Right. I'm wondering if that's what's wrong with presentations to begin with, is because everyone does get kind of that black and white, this is what it is. But I do like how you're saying, hey, infuse yourself into this presentation, make it something you're more interested in, some personality to it, and I think that would ignite my interest and make it a little bit more fun.
And this term, like I said, it's ergonomics, but it's like a dual grade because they're going to present it, but then we all have to participate.
Right.
So we're all going to be very stretched at the end of this term, but it's making sure that they're able to participate with all of those presentations.
Carla, I'm going to bounce to you after I ask a question. So how can we make it fun? But I wonder about the presentation or the paper part, because I know that typically when I ask students, the paper part is hard also. So how do we make that more inviting to want to complete, or can we?
Well, and again, I probably do my stuff wrong, but I'll have them do just like an outline that they follow. So like this term, they have to do a PowerPoint or a poster board. So that's going to be their, sorry, it's my phone. So that is their presentation. But like last term, they just wrote down, the microvilli was the nerd wrote. So that was how they turned that in.
I've actually been hearing more and more people talk about reverting back to the outline. And it's not fair for me. One, I like writing. That was my whole major. So it's not, but I had eliminated all the bits and pieces, like the outline, the outline, the first draft, how to put the paper together. And I'm just like, oh, people wouldn't want to do that part because it's extending it. But now the more that I'm looking at it, people are like, let's just go back to writing out an outline. What are we talking about? What are the pieces? Conclude. And that basically puts together a paper pretty closely. Cool. Carla, what are your thoughts about how to make the LRS fun?
Again, of giving them a range of topics. I mean, some of them, like with Swedish, they have all these different topics that they can choose from. I don't necessarily make them write a paper. They have an outline, but I give them different fun ways to do it. Like if they want to demonstrate, I had one girl who she brought everything for Lomi Lomi. She's Polynesian, and so she did the whole traditional thing, the traditional dress, and then she demonstrated. So I allow them to do that. I say, as long as you're not just standing up there reading a piece of paper and you're infusing it with your enthusiasm and what you really want to learn about, everyone's usually really excited for the LRS presenting their LRSs. But in the science classes, like with kinesiology, they have to pick a sport, the joint and the muscles that go with it, and common injuries, and then how would you go about addressing it with massage. And then in anatomy and physiology, they choose different pathologies, and so they research the pathology and then they have to present it and things like that. And then Swedish is a modality or an adjunct to massage therapy. And then with deep tissue, then they choose a person they're going to massage for 4 sessions, and they're going to document, they're going to take pictures, and they're going to look at, their posture and their gait, and then they have to document that. And they get really excited about that because then they get to see, oh my God, I really did change someone's body or their pain levels or this or that. So that's exciting for them because then they still have a choice. It's not just, oh, you're going to write this paper, you're going to present it, and they get to craft it and mold it and then present it.
I've heard 2 things here, but I'm going to see if the trend continues. So I'm not going to ask a question about it. But you both have kind of said similar things that I find
eliminated
I find interesting. Yes, I find interesting. But I also like that, your students can see progress somewhere, which I think is kind of cool. I always appreciate, like I like research projects, but what's the other name for the projects? Not research, but where we see like the cause and effect of something. Nobody's gonna help me with it on my own. Anyway, the cause and effect of it. You guys out there on the video, tell me what I'm talking about. Where you have a problem, and then you can actually go through and figure out solutions.
Right.
Because you feel accomplished in that. Cool. All right, Christina, welcome to your first one.
We write a paper. I think that it is kind of boring for Cosmo, to be honest. Last term we had 76 students doing the same LRS with the same papers, and by the time we're 4 hours in, you almost need that lunch break for a long time. So outline, I like that. But no, we do the paper. This term for LRSs, instead of everyone just doing salon and what you need and what kind of extra certificates that's needed, we opened it up to also esthetician and nails. So not just the hair, so that way it kind of speaks to different people, just kind of seeing what their passion is, what they want to do when they grow up, where they want to be, what it's going to look like, how much it would cost to get, what certifications they need. So that way we're not all just doing salons, and the people who don't necessarily like hair, they're not doing it, and then we're not listening to the same thing for hours. We have term 8 that does a total look model instead of the LRS. What that is the total makeover. So when they hit term 8, they have their befores, after, during pictures. They just write down what steps they did, what color. So that includes cut, color, makeup, style, and waxing. So then that way they have their befores, the afters, everyone kind of sees. We don't try to necessarily help give them the answers, but just so with like colors, just so they can see why they're using it and what it will do. If it's going to be a total catastrophe, we'll stop it before it happens. But we do right now have the papers that they're writing, and they have the PowerPoints. Previously, when we had the salon ones, and what we encouraged this time was we had one girl who made a paper box because she wanted to do a mobile hairdressing. So she had it lighting up and all the good stuff. We tried the whole edible demonstration for like the anatomy part, but we just had someone bring in a donut with sprinkles and said this was it. So we had to venture away from that because Cosmos are very colorful. But yeah, so just opening it up to all aspects of the Cosmo, hair, skin, nails. That way everyone kind of puts what they want to be when they grow up. And then the term 8s, the makeover thing, and just seeing the aha when it happens, and watching the class say, oh, that's so nice. And I think that's worth it.
Something you both said, and I think and we probably all have maybe felt this way. I know that I did, but watching the same presentation over and over and over again. And so even though we have it listed in there, this is your LRS project, why I was so excited about this is because even though it's listed that way, if you're bored and you don't want to listen to it, your students probably feel the same way.
Correct.
And so I love that. Yeah, we're taking the time to say, okay, I've listened to 70 presentations of the same thing over and over and over again, got bored, and then decided we can't do that because I'm bored, the students are bored, we're all bored, nobody wants to listen to this. How can we make it better? And so I like that we're continuing to make it better. So you have the permission to make it better. You can't not do it, but just, spice it up. Do something different.
I think also when the students are presenting, kind of just letting them know that if you can't present in front of the class, you'll not sell yourself in a good way. Going out there and promoting yourself because you are your billboard. So I think it's important that they over that, so then that way they are able to walk up to someone and say, I don't know who does your hair, but you need me in your life, or whatever. So I think it's important, and I always tell them, we'll stand up there with you. And I'll give them funny faces, be like, oh, you're making it, just kind of ease in that, because I think that's an important piece. And I think it will help in the long run.
Yeah, I think that is a huge piece, even though we're talking a lot of it about making it fun, and adapting stuff, and the paper part. I did want to bounce back to the presentation because everyone is terrified of presentations. I don't know if that's true. I'm not terrified of presentations, but my background lends to not being terrified of presentations. Most people are like, I don't want to talk to people, but I love what you said. Like, how are you going to sell yourself? Whether or not you're in an interview or anything else. And both of your career paths, like
you have to
get up and talk.
You have to present yourself.
You have to present yourself. If you want that job, you better present yourself.
You're your own walking billboard.
That's right. Yeah, no, I think that's so important. And letting the students know, like, hey, you might not like this, but we need to figure out a way to put on a mask. And we're just going to fake it for a few minutes.
Right.
We're just going to fake it. All right, Louie, you're up next. Wait, hold on. Christina, were you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, Christina was done.
I'm done. Your turn.
Okay. I'm on the same platform, I think, as these ladies are, that you don't have to stick to exactly what the LRS is about. I give our students a pretty wide or pretty open canvas. I do ask them to turn in an outline ahead of time, week 3, week 4 somewhere, of what they got going on. I ask them as we go along, what you're working on. I get varied answers. Okay, so nothing. But I ask them what they're working on. I offer help along the way with some ideas and stuff. I have had LRSs, some of them, to where, yeah, you want to find your own earbuds and not have to listen to them anymore. And that was the point that I went, okay, wait, we don't have to do this way. So I tell them, as long as it's in the subject that you're working on of your course, then that's fine. Whether it's engines class, do you have a favorite engine? How is an engine made? How would you build like a racing engine? Suspensions class, like what's the history of shock absorbers, or build me an off-road truck, you know what I mean? And they find a great interest in that. Even the ones that aren't very excited to do this find something to do, and they make a pretty decent LRS project out of it. I still have a few, very few, that will write a piece of paper and read it, which the information is usually there. It's just not as spectacular as some of them do. Really nice PowerPoints. They use Prezi. I wasn't aware of Prezi because I'm old and don't know what all the cool new hip stuff is, but they use that, puts it together really cool. I've had students do videos or show videos to go along with their stuff. We've had students actually come over here, use this as a backdrop and interview other students about something. So they usually work out really cool. You kind of run in with the students that are more happy to do this. You run into competition between them, and they kind of mess with each other. It actually raises the level of their project. So, and then the main question I think was, how do we make it fun? Am I wrong?
That's what, yeah.
Is that I was poked several times, where's your LRS? So I said, okay, well, I'll do an LRS one day. So I've got 3 or 4 of them tucked away that I do every once in a while, and they really enjoy it because I'm getting up and doing what they're doing. So I don't know how many.
I do that too.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't know who else does it with their students, but the ones that have really bad anxiety, is that what you were referring to? Okay, yeah, it's fun to maybe help them a little bit, nudge them, sit in the back and at them. It depends on how bad their anxiety is. I've got some that can't.
Oh yeah, I've had that too.
Can't
They
hardly
just
stand it and do it.
about ready to pass out. They just freeze.
And those I let sit down.
Yeah, I do too.
But they still have to read their presentation, and they'll still do that.
I hate them stand.
Yeah, and I try to address that by,
I try.
you're going to have to do a job interview at some point where you're going to be sitting at a table and you're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 people looking at you, and you're going to have to talk about yourself. It's going to get really hot and really small in that room. This is really good practice for that, and that's why we do this. But yeah, I don't know. If I'd have wrote everything down, I think about it, I would have had a lot more to talk about. But I probably wandered on long enough. Really, that's in a nutshell.
I like that you have a few LRSs tucked away, and that actually kind of jogged my memory. A couple of people have asked me about the LRS, and I think it's very important to be able to show the students exactly what it is that they need to do so that they can get a good grade. Because sometimes you're like, here's your LRS project, and they're like,
what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Or you're like me, I don't read a lot of anything. I like to write and talk. But you want me to read something you gave me? I'm like, what? I don't know. I wrote you guys a big old email. I'm like, I don't know if I would ever reread what I just wrote. But I would want to get a good grade. And so being able to have an example of what it takes to get a good grade, I think that's huge for sure.
Yeah. Well, I stole an idea from massage. They did bios. And so one of our LRS, it's a front office class. I'm like, how do you do front office LRS?
For
so
clinic,
we had each of them, they do a bio, and I did mine first. That's their example. And then that way they know how to put it together and what to do.
Yeah.
That's a bio.
Their biography.
Yeah, it just, for clinic, we
Mhm.
post them on the wall and that's their LRS. And so it's just a picture of them and then just a little blurb about, hello, I'm Carla Smith. You know, I grew up in blah, blah, blah. And I came to massage because.
Mhm.
And it's great for when people are coming in booking their
Correct.
appointments because they can see,
Yes,
oh, it's
they
so
can.
and so. Like,
Oh,
go up
and-
there and read a little bit
yeah.
about them. And,
Mhm.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is perfect. And I did. I took it
Yeah.
and
That's
ran.
That's a good, yeah,
yeah.
thanks.
So
Yeah, and I think that's great
Take
for
it.
everyone.
It is.
It's like,
It is.
honestly,
I mean,
gonna-
It is good. I
Yeah.
think all
And-
the different programs should
yeah.
do bios.
And then I cut them and we put them in the board. So these are our future dental assistants. So every time we run through that term, I put the new ones up because the old ones are graduated.
Yeah.
I was thinking that if I were going into a clinic, I would love to see bios on
Mhm.
the people there. I
Correct.
would love that. Like
Mhm.
I might not, I don't know what it is about like the doctor's office versus the dentist. I don't really like the dentist as much.
Yeah.
I don't
I
like you
know.
guys as much. I go regularly. But that would I bet that would soothe a lot of people just to see smiling faces.
Correct.
and
Mhm.
just
Because a
learn
lot of times they
about-
don't put them on their website.
They don't. You're right.
So,
Mhm.
And it's always interesting to learn new things about,
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I
People
have
are new
learned
people.
so much. Like Dayani, she was born and raised in Mexico. She didn't move here until she was 14. Didn't know that
Yeah.
until she did her
Yeah.
LRS.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's why we
That's
have.
why.
light bulb. So, but it makes sense now. And
Yeah.
now that I know that, I'm like, oh, we work with her a little bit different.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Good connection
Yeah.
tool.
Mhm.
It is.
Yeah.
So, thank you, massage.
Cool. All right, Louie, I know that was it for you, right? Sam, up next. How to make the LRS fun.
I give them a variety of topics if we have one. I give them parameters that they can choose from and then make it their own. And then we make them present in front of everyone, both mods. So everyone gets to see their presentation. And so they hate it at first, but then, you know, when everyone's on the same page, they do well with it.
I know that I walked into a couple of times where the students are working on their project, and some of the things that your students are coming up with for projects, I'm just like, that's real life stuff. So the parameters are you giving them just parameters, or are you kind of guiding them in a specific direction?
Well, our LRSs are pretty specific as to what they want. So controversial issues is one of them. So they have to come up with something that, you know, not everyone agrees with, and then they have to talk about both sides of it and then why they feel that way. So we don't have a lot of fun topics.
I don't know, they're pretty interesting topics. It might not
They
be
are.
fun, but they're interesting. They're
And I
like
think
need to know stuff.
That's why they like them, because it is stuff that they have to, you know, think about.
Now, I will say that, like, as we're going through this, like, the administrative side is going to say, hey, what do you mean you're changing the LRS? Which is probably true. Like, so if anybody ever comes and asks you from the administrative position, we do whatever is listed that we say we do. But what I love is that you're actually taking a real look at your students, and your students would benefit from the way that you have set up the LRS for them. And that is the most beneficial thing that you could do for anybody in a trade school, because they're not necessarily gonna love writing a paper. But if they do have to write it, let's just just give me an outline. And then maybe from the outline, give me a paper if you can.
Right.
Or if not, give me your demonstration or your edible cell or whatever it is you're doing. I think it is important to look at your group of students and mold yourself. But of course, I love forward thinking. I love kind of bending the rules a little. So that's why it's okay here.
Right.
But it also forces the conversation of, should we be writing papers? which is what I'm gonna go and have a conversation with tomorrow, based on the information that I learned in the meeting today. Not that they're not important. Again, I love writing papers and I do have a place. But can we better serve our students by giving them projects or hands-on things to accomplish?
Well, I was never given
Definitely
guidelines. So
Never giving guidelines.
never.
Oh, that's
And
good.
so we were just told, pick a topic and they need to do something with it. And I'm like,
Interesting.
okay. So that's why every term it's something different. It's not the same thing. Because I don't want them to get in that rut of always thinking it's going to be the same thing.
Mhm.
So, and I want to make it fun for me.
Understand.
It's all about me.
Understand.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cool. Does anybody have anything else they want to add in? No? Okay. Well, I could throw you on the spot, Christina.
Deal.
Oh, let's go. So we do these once a term now. And so if you want to take a minute or two or 5 seconds to come up with a topic for our next education roundtable, something that you think your instructors might benefit from having a conversation to listen to about.
And I had to email her mine because I didn't do the on the spot, just throwing that out there.
That is true. She just said, can I come back to you later?
It's something
I
to
was
do
gonna
with
say.
instructors for educational, right? To help them, is that
Yes.
what you're asking?
Mhm.
Or us.
Or us.
Yeah.
Or us.
Yeah.
What about? I don't know.
I can come back. You
Let's-
can
yeah,
get back to me
give me
later.
5
Problems.
minutes.
Give you 5 minutes.
What?
How to deal with the problems.
That's
Right.
funny because
How to
that's,
have
I was trying to
difficult
mill around, how do I say
Oh,
that?
how to have
Yeah.
technical conversations.
Discipline.
So that.
Just-
We'll come back to
What
you.
about how to keep your cool in tough situations?
How to keep
Yeah.
your cool in
Yeah,
tough
yeah, yeah.
situations.
That's a
I
good
like
one.
that
All right, that is the next one for next time. Thanks, guys.